Hello, listeners and viewers. Today, I have got the absolute pleasure of interviewing Heather Joy Bassett. Now, Heather is an ex-world champion sports person. She's an author. She owned her own business for 35 years and 8 months. She's very specific about that. She is a really super interesting, amazing person who I met at the beginning of this year, and I really felt like there was just something in her story, not just in the story that she shares in her book, but also in the story that is after her book, that I thought would be a really interesting topic for you guys to enjoy. Heather's just turned 60 and she's been through just an amazing amount in her 60 years on this earth, in this life form. And I really hope that you feel how big a journey it has been for her. It's really quite amazing. Anyway, I'll stop rambling on, and I really hope that you enjoy and are inspired by the story that Heather is about to share. Welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk About, and this is Heather Joy Bassett.
Hi.
And Heather has joined me from Melbourne.
Yes.
And Heather is an author, I'm going to have to fix that. Is an author, a world level athlete.
Yes.
In your day. Owned your business for
35 years and 8 months.
35 years and 8 months. And now is on a really interesting journey that's very fluid, I would call it. Yeah. So I have Heather's book here. It's called A Cosmically Juicy Life. And Heather has written her story.
Yeah.
Yeah, up to a point. It was up to
59. My first 59 years.
59 years. Yeah. So yes, and I will put in the show notes links to where they can get that from Amazon.
Awesome.
And
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Heather, I'd love to start with your sporting accolades first.
Okay.
Because I think that to get to the level of sporting achievement you got to is really quite unique. There's not very many people out there that get to that highest level of sporting accolades. Can you just explain what that was like for you? What was that like?
So I won a World Series in lacrosse in 1986 in Philadelphia. And I represented state for over 20 years, and Australian state for over 20 years. So it was an incredible, the highs and also the lows, because in the World Series I got injured. So it was beautiful, and then it was tragic at the same time, because and so to limp out and get my gold medal and to not be able to play in that final game was like, at the time I didn't even acknowledge any hurt, because I'm a supporter and I'm so excited about everyone else and everything else. Yeah. That it took a long time to actually realise like the great ecstasy and joy of being a world champion, and then the absolute guttedness of not being on the field. Yeah. And it's something a lot of people won't talk about. And when I bring it up, people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter whether you're on the field or not, because you've got the gold on the wall, and no one remembers who was on the field." And it's like,
Yeah, but you do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So for all those people who aren't on the field, and because I know I'm never the only one.
Yeah.
Ever feeling anything, so it's an interesting one to explore. And one of my friends is like, "You're one of the 1%ers." I'm like, "Wow," because it's just normal. This is my normal. Yeah, it just is.
Yeah.
But it also, because I wasn't on the field, then I didn't claim being a world champion for 30 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been a really interesting journey for you.
A really interesting journey.
Yeah. And so then you had your podiatry business for 35 years and 8 months.
You got it.
Yes, and in that, you worked with people a lot.
I did.
And got really connected to a lot of people over that time.
Yeah.
Heather was sharing with me how in that time there were children. What was your youngest? Was when you first started? Was
my youngest client ever was 6 weeks old, and my eldest was 105. And then I saw someone in my first week who was 4. She was my first child that I saw, and she walked in 30 years later. And between her and her name, like, "Have we met before?" And she's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Have you been here?" And she's like, "I did see a podiatrist when I was 4." And I went out the back and I had all the paper files from 30 years because we'd gone electronic. But I had all of those files out there, and I had her file. And I saw her in the first week, and it was just like, oh my goodness me.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I saw clients, some of my clients I saw for that 35 years and 8 months. So I got to know.
Yeah, and really see them grow and change and
mature.
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And it would have given you a really deep insight into people. Yes, yeah?
Yeah. Because we often start with the facade, and then when you're seeing someone monthly or 8 weekly over 35 years, the masks just drop away, and then you just see the real people. And some of my clients even went from 70 to 101. One of them came in when she was 70, and she left this body when she was 101. And so you can see the patterns of behaviour play out.
Yeah.
And then partners would come in, and then you see the dynamics of partnerships in relationships, so the relationships. And then there are times we'd have 4 generations come in, and it just became really obvious patterns of behaviour, whether it's speech or coming where the people are coming from, and even with health and fitness and everything. You just see and there are so many patterns that were you could see when someone would disrupt the pattern. And so patterns and behaviours and relationships.
That'd be really interesting.
It's crazy interesting.
Yeah. So you sold your business.
I did sell my business.
And you've been on a bit of a journey since then.
I have.
And one of the ones that really interests me was the book writing retreats that you've been on.
Yeah.
They're on Stradbroke.
Stradbroke Island.
Yeah. How did you discover that? And can you just explain a little bit about what that's like? Like who runs it? How long's it go for?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I just thought, excuse me, people had told me I would write you should write a book, and then just out of the blue, I heard of Dave Thompson. He's from the Inspirational Book Writers Retreat, and I was doing some mentoring with someone else that he knew, and that popped up on my field. And then I was like, I'm going to go and write a book. So it wasn't something that I'd planned as such. And so I went to the island, and you go to the island, and he also runs them in Hawaii now as well. Cool. And so we'll be going over there next next March.
Yeah.
And so went there, and all your needs are taken care of, and you just sit and write and have people check in where you're going. And if you're stuck, then you're allowed to be stuck for 30 seconds, and then you get someone to help you. So a lot of people don't finish their books because they get stuck on something, but you can't get stuck because it's like, okay, where are you at? What do you need? And then there's different, there's different, so there's generally 4, but there can be 6 coaches. Yep. So I went there and experienced it, wrote my book on the island, and then I became one of the coaches.
Awesome. Yeah. So you wrote your first book, The Cosmically Juicy Life, on Stradbroke.
Okay.
Yep. And how many days was it for?
So the retreat runs for a week, and you can publish your book 6 weeks. It's ready to publish 6 weeks later.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So people go there and it happens. And some of the authors write their book. Some have done some preparation, and they write their book in 2 days.
Wow.
There's someone on who wrote 2 books
in 7 days.
In 7 days.
That's impressive. Yep.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it's breaking up the myth of what you think writing a book is.
Yeah, which is good. Actually, it was something that we were talking about earlier, wasn't it? Like where I said, when we're talking on this podcast, to me it's a lot about breaking down myths of things, that people believe or can't believe or don't believe. And it's like, well, let's talk about it.
Yes.
And one of the things I've noticed, like, because Heather and I met on a workshop. We were actually on a workshop with Sarah McCrum, who, if you've watched a few weeks ago, you would have seen an interview that I did with Sarah, and we attended the Consciousness of Money workshop together up there.
We did.
And we bunked together, and we became very good friends very quickly up there. So, I've noticed that you do a lot of workshops now. It's part of, it feels like for me when I observe you that that's like a part of your journey. And one of the things that you shared with me was that you started doing that because you thought you were broken, and now you do it for a whole different reason. Well, can you share that?
Yeah, I'd never even experienced workshops. I didn't know what they were 3 years ago, and I'd done a lot of education on what I thought was personal development. So I thought, I'm a personal development junkie. I've always been learning and growing. Yeah. But then I reached this different side, spirituality, for voodoo. That's like voodoo stuff. What even is this stuff? Yeah. But the first one I went to, I really felt broken. I felt broken as a woman. Yep. About my sexuality, I felt broken and disconnected. I was in a really, really dark space. So for the first one, I just spent 4 months in a psych ward. Yep. And they'd said, we can't help you, go home. And I really thought my life was over. I thought if they can't help me, then there's nothing left, because I thought I'd tried everything in life. And then I went to the first workshop. It just made me feel even more broken. Yeah. That I started to not feel numb, and I started to actually feel. So I went to more workshops feeling broken, and then I got to the point of realising I'm not broken. No one's broken. No one's broken. You feel it. And there's such a difference to go, I'm not broken, I feel it. Yeah. To know that I'm not, and then be really curious about what else is out there, what else can I learn, how much can I expand and explore, and just with curiosity and wonder. Yeah, and that's because I was sharing with Heather that I'm a bit croaky in my voice at the moment. Both are. Yeah, because I've just come off a workshop that I go and crew and be a part of the crewing and helping people have these massive breakthroughs in their life. Where for this particular workshop, it really is transforming the mindset of I'm broken to actually I'm not. Yeah. That's really what it really is when it boils down to it, and to me I can see that first shift really is that step out into
a whole new world of learning and growing and understanding yourself, and by understanding yourself, being able to then understand people in your life better, so you can have better relationships, you can have more joy, more peace, more happiness, you know. And so it's not about being broken and trying to fix broken. It's about learning and understanding that you're not broken, so that you can enjoy more of life.
Totally. Yes. And I'm talking here. I'm like excited. So I've got goosebumps now as I'm exploring it. The more we make sense of ourselves, then the more we make sense of the relationships around us.
Yep.
And so my relationship with everything, even with my team, with my family, with my friends, with my colleagues, with everything, just opens up.
Yeah. And
then you start to connect to oneness and abundance and things that I don't even know existed. Like, what are we even talking about? It's like, what are you even talking about? And that, even as a leader, and even for my business, all of it, if you want to have good business, then make sense of yourself, know yourself intimately, then you have a better business. Yep. You have a better relationship with life, money, sexuality, family, like all of that circle of wheel of life thingy. Yeah. It all shifts when you make sense of...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so you've mentioned that you have a business now, and we've talked a little bit about the resonance stuff and that. Is that what your business is now? Like, what's... If someone wanted to connect with you on a business level, what would that be?
Cool. That's a great question, because I'm fully in transition mode and owning that. So I'm trying to create a label and, to box it up and make it look pretty of what I offer the world. Yep. And in one way, I'm a mentor. Someone I was working with the other day said, you're not a business coach, but you make businesses explode. Yep. When people work with you. And I'm not a life coach, but people's lives transform when they work with me. Yep. And then he's like, oh, man, you're the catalyst. And then someone else is like, that's way too limiting. Yep. So whatever people work with me, it's a bit like this conversation. It's like it goes where it needs to. Yep. And then to market it, people want to define it. And it's like, well... yeah, what is it you need? So it's like, okay, what's happening? So what? And then people come and it's like, if they're feeling something, it's like, come. The biggest thing that I help people with, though, underneath all that, is to speak their truth. Yeah. And you've got a word for that? Spruth. Spruth. Yeah. Yes. And when did that one come to you? Spruth came in April. I was looking for what's my disruptive idea. Like, I don't have a disruptive idea. What's like, that's not a thing. And then spruth landed. I'm like, hello, spruth. What is spruth? And then it was, spruth is speaking the truth with love and compassion. And when people do that, there's a whole new level of truth, because it's ownership of my truth. Yeah. Not you, they, them. It's like my truth. Yep. And when we live and speak from our truth, then again, life just explodes in a beautiful way. Absolutely. And so this last weekend just gone, you were at the Fields of Healing Festival in Byron Bay, and you were invited to speak up on stage with the Indigenous leaders that had come from all over the world. Yeah. And you had 1 minute to 90 seconds, you said, wasn't it? Yeah. With no preparation. Yeah. To get up in front of people and speak. Just explain it, like, because to me, I'm like, you've got to pull spruth for that. Yeah. Like, what was that like? It was a really deep exploration of trusting, because it's like white, privileged woman, and the Indigenous community was incredibly welcoming. Like, we're the family. It's like the one heartbeat of humanity. And so there were so many shifts there, but there was still this, like, me, like, how do I get to be on stage? And so there was part of me just going to all my voices saying, you can't do this. They're just like, shh. And then, like, my heart felt like it was just like jumping out of my skin, and I went up there and I was shaking, and I just felt incredibly honoured. And I shared that I didn't understand how I got to be in that space.
Yeah.
And I don't know, other than the whole thing was truth. People were speaking the truth with love and compassion, and it just added to more of my privilege to be the person on stage. So it's really profound, and it hasn't really sunk in yet. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, that is awesome. Wow. So you do a bit of public speaking as well. Yeah. And you were just over with Andrew Eggleton in Bali,
yes,
doing the world-class speaking. Yeah.
World-class presenting.
Yeah. And what was that like? Because I really wanted to go to that one. I really wanted, and I just couldn't quite make it.
Well, you know what? Portugal.
Yep.
He's doing Portugal.
And when's that happening?
Don't know the dates. Don't actually know the dates. But that was really profound. I think there were 14 people in the group, and I had my 60th birthday there.
That's awesome.
So yay! Because what I wanted to do, my dream was to be able to travel the world, go anywhere that I choose, go to warm places, swim in water, have amazing conversations, make a difference in people's lives, help people have their greatest impact. And so even though I was there as a participant, I was still helping people have their greatest impact. So it was, again, an amazing experience, and I highly recommend if you're presenting, because there's the old structure of having everything totally prepared versus having conversation and being very real with people. So that's highly recommend that one. And then the week before, so I did co-facilitated the book writing retreat. Yeah. And then I was at a Dancing Eros retreat as an elder and one of the team there, which is a 9-day immersion into different archetypes of woman. Yep. So
that's cool. So Dancing Eros, was that a women's only, or it was co-ed? Was there men and women there exploring the Eros together, or like?
No, this retreat is women only. Yep. Dancing Eros is the first workshop that I ever did, and it was the most confronting thing I ever did. To walk into that, I had no idea of sacred circles and sexuality and the freedom that women had around their bodies, and Vanessa, who runs it's like, wow, like you went from shut down, like I was so shut down, and like to like being fully, well, not fully expressed. I could still do some more, but
I think we all learn and grow, don't we? Yeah.
Dramatic shifts. So Dancing Eros, they actually do for men. Yep. As well now, and men take the journey of the feminine.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is really cool, because I think that when you were talking before about that circle of all the aspects of your life, one of the things that we don't talk about enough is our sexuality and our connection with our sensuality, sexuality, our feminine, our masculine, all of those things, and they're so important to our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with others. That there should be more conversations about that. That's my spruce is let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that. And I did in my book, again, I've got goosebumps. I never knew as a woman that my cervix was there for pleasure. It's like, what? Do you know that? Because I didn't know that. And I had a hysterectomy. And I had a hysterectomy without, I can remember asking the gynecologist, like, is this going to affect my orgasms? And he was about to retire. He was 60, he was going on 100. That he was embarrassed, even though he'd been a gynecologist for like 40 decades. Wow. He was embarrassed. He couldn't look at me. He looked away. And then he said, I don't think it's sort of...
That's just amazing, isn't it?
That is crazy. But the thing is, he also didn't say, go and speak to anyone. And then I saw a physio who works with women's health. And she was like, why did you have a hysterectomy? And I was like, well, why wouldn't I? Like, so naive and so ignorant about that. I didn't know squirting was a thing. Like, there's so much about... I'm like, how do we not know this stuff? Why are we... Our sexuality is a life force, and it's so repressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm with you. It needs to be talked about. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and I was only actually having a conversation with my partner yesterday that, the more I get in touch with myself and my femininity and understanding myself, the more layers of repressed shame and things around sexuality and sensuality, I see them lifting. I feel them lifting, and I can feel myself being more okay with my sexuality and my sensuality and being okay with expressing it and being okay with allowing people into my space in that. And it's just such a journey, because I think that level of shame and repression it starts from such a young age. And it just, and I know I've done it to my kids. Yeah. I've not had those conversations with my children. And so that just even by not having the conversations creates a shame.
Perpetuate the same.
Yeah, it creates this feeling of shame around sex and sexuality and sensuality. And like I know whole people that don't even know that there's a difference between sensuality and sexuality. It's just, it's sort of like everything just gets put over there and put under a big black blanket.
Like,
and so, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Don't talk about money. Don't talk about sexuality.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I wrote about in the book, and I'm like, I'm writing this. I'm actually writing that and putting that out to the world. One of the gorgeous things is when a baby first finds their hands, and it's like, and you can just watch them looking at their hands and like this exploration of like, I've got hands, and then they find, oh, I've got feet. And it's such a joyous thing. I don't know anyone who can't watch. I'm sure there is someone, but I don't really know anyone who doesn't get like just like your heart opened when a child starts exploring their body. But as soon as they find their genitals, it's like, oh, don't touch there. Don't. Oh, you can't do that. And I perpetuated that with my children. And as I open and explore my sexuality, I'm like, that is just ludicrous. That, oh, you're allowed to explore this part of your body. But you're not allowed to explore this part of your body. Like, that makes no sense when you just look at it from that point of view, does it?
Oh, it's absolutely crazy. It really is. And I actually get my mind blown all the time, where I just sit there and think, none of this makes sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Even to the point of, I was having a conversation on the weekend about, a guy took his shirt off. And, they have the same sort of not breasts like ours, but like they've got the muscle, they have the nipple, the actual like skin area of that area is very, very similar. Why is it okay that they take their shirt off and we can't? What is it about this part of our body that needs to be covered, that needs to be hidden?
But if you look at, if you go to that, it's any part of your body.
But like for women, it's here and here. And for men, it's just here. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Well, here's the thing. I get it on many levels, because I've lived that, and then it's like I don't get it, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm gloriously happy that my daughter is really
happy naked. And so until I started this journey, I could be naked with myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't look in the mirror. I never look in the mirror, like look on a camera, none of that stuff was happening. And last year, there was a call out for 100 women to dance naked in a feminist arts piece in Melbourne, in an international arts piece. And so, like, again, my heart like bumping out. It's like, cool. I put my hand up, and again, goosebumps. And for this thing, it was trilogy. It was 2 young women from Ireland had brought it out to Australia. And I can remember the moment of I asked my daughter, and she was like, yeah, cool. So she was in. And then I said to my mum, hey, Mum, I'd really like you to come to this thing that I'm performing in. Mum was 84, Dad's 84 at that time. And I said, I'm going to be naked. And she's like, I don't know that I need to see you naked. And I was like, I'd really like you to be there, Mum. And my daughter's yelling out, you don't have to come, Grandma. Mum, don't make her come. I'm like, I'm not making her come. Mum, I would really like you to be there. I don't know. And I went in to tell my dad.
Yeah.
So my dad, like, hey, Dad, I'm dancing in this feminist piece, and I'd really like you to be there. And he said, is there parking? I was like, instantly in, and the parking was, is there parking? Because we need to get Mum there. So immediately they were in. So for me, we're standing behind the curtains and looked across. There was another woman on the other side, looked at her, and we both stepped into the spotlight. Again, goosebumps going on. Fully naked, and led 50 women onto stage. My daughter at the other end, my mum and dad in the front row of the audience.
Wow. That's like, awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. That is really cool.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
That's awesome. I wish it was up here. I'd be there in a heartbeat. Don't know if my mum and dad did come to it, but yeah.
And that was the thing. Like, there were 3 generations.
Yeah.
So breaking the myth of what sexuality is and what it is to be, like, we were given this body in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Other lifetimes? Is that a thing? Who knew that?
Yes, there's a whole conversation there, isn't there? Yeah. So that is awesome. Like, I think that's a really, we've only had a chance to really just touch on it, but even if it starts someone just thinking about their own repression or their own shame, and really questioning that. Really questioning why. Why has this been put on us? Why have we taken it and put it on ourselves?
And even we can do the why. The other thing you can just do is, like, you can choose and choose again. So do I want to keep doing what I'm doing? Like, is it really working? Like, is it really working? Again, goosebumps. Is it working for all of me? Because everything's working for us. It serves us, but is it serving? What is it? Is it serving? And conversations like this, my words are they can open the mind, open your heart, connect us to our body and soul.
Yep.
And so, whether you're really triggered and going, oh, that's not for me, then perfect, because it probably is.
Yeah.
And then if you're a bit joyous and going, I want to know more, because I'm exploring my sexuality as a grandmother at 60. So I look at, I really didn't, it got shut down. I can remember moments as a teenager, not even as a teenager. I can remember moments in primary school where my sexuality started to get shut down and it's made wrong. And I was at a beach up at Tweed Heads, and there was a little boy having a shower with his mum, and he was naked, and she said, oh, Rudy Nudie. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're the words that Rudy Nudie, go cover up. Same words that I heard 60, well, not quite 50 odd years ago, and that I've used and that my mum and dad use with my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews, and it's like,
yeah, let's stop doing that.
Let's stop.
Let's stop.
Let's stop. So there's 4 things that shut us all down. I mean, there's millions of them, but there are 4 that are really, we have 4 basic feelings, which is anger, sadness, fear and joy. And as a child, if you get angry, it's like, don't be angry. So you can imagine being a tiny child and you're angry and it's your life force. It's part of your life force. Don't be angry. It's like, oh, what? Like, what? Like you're a little tacker and you get told not to be angry.
Yeah.
But you're angry already. So how does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you're
watching everyone else be angry around you and you're not allowed.
It's like, what? Yeah. And then you're sad and you get told, get over it. Get over it. It's like, but I'm sad, but get over it. And then you're scared. It's like, you're not scared. Don't be scared.
Yeah, nothing to be scared of. Yeah.
And it's like, but your body's already telling you intuitively, anger, sad, scared. And then if you're really joyful, oh, well, don't be too much.
Yeah. Tone down.
Don't have too much joy in you. Can't do that.
Yeah.
So all of those things just like repress us. And it's beautiful in its way. It keeps us safe till we get to the point where you're like, you know what? I don't want to do it like that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Now, we've only got a few more minutes, but what I would like to touch on very quickly is the resonance stuff. Because, we both know Jeff Vanderkloot, who does resonance mapping. He's from Colorado.
Not sure where he's located at the moment.
From America somewhere. Yeah, he's a bit of a gypsy. Yeah. He doesn't really stay in one place for too long.
No.
But I think he's originally from Colorado, somewhere around there anyway. And he does a very detailed... Very detailed resonance map, yes.
Yeah.
What does yours look and feel like? Because I can feel it in you. You do it. Your body responds so strongly. But for anyone that doesn't know what resonance is, and then what's your version of it that you experience?
So I mainly feel resonance. Excuse me. As I'm exploring it, that it's how my body responds to things. So my version is nowhere near as sophisticated as Jeff's. But when someone starts to speak their truth, like someone will be telling me one story and I'm like, okay, and then they start to speak differently and my whole body responds into this like excited, joyous, like, like again, goosebumps, possibilities. And so that's when I'm working with people, then they'll be telling me one version of this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And then if it's not making any sense in my body's just like, yeah, whatever, cool. Keep telling me that story. That's it, whatever, It's like, okay, I'm not dismissing it, but there's no reaction. But when I start to recognize the truth and follow that line of conversation, then it's like my whole body is just in a joy state. I was in a joy state with her, with this one, Michelle. Yesterday was just like, the vibration between and the energy shift. And then, so my big thing is helping people have their greatest impact. So whether that's in love, in life, love, legacy, then...
I would like to,
please
probably close off by sharing about that, because, I think there's multiple things that all combine together to create something, and for us, we were sharing this afternoon and I'd just woken up. I've still, I've got bags on my eyes really bad because the workshop that I've just been on is so intensive and so extremely fulfilling and rewarding, but so exhausting. Physically my body is tired, my throat's sore, like so it's like by being so tired, it increases your level of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it increases the openness of where you can go to. And if I was feeling 100% and I wasn't feeling so tired, maybe I wouldn't have allowed the truth to come out.
Yeah.
And and as we're sharing and talking, and over the course of the weekend, I was really thinking about, like, what is my truth? What is my purpose? What is my goals? What really makes my heart sing? What's the things that makes me feel amazing?
Yeah.
And then we were having a conversation about Juice It and where it is and what it's doing and how we're doing it and everything, and then that just conversation just kept going along and along and along, and then just and so and my truth was coming out more and more and more, and it was like massive realizations for me about what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's great, because it can get all confusing when you're sitting in your own head trying to work it out. When
it's looping in your head.
Yeah.
And it's when, again, we speak the truth with love and compassion, and it's speaking it. Because writing it's one thing, thinking it's another thing, but feeling it in our body.
Yeah.
And feeling the vibration. And again, like, my face is just like, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, watch this space. Never know what's coming.
Yeah.
Just completely, there's a moment, I think, where, like, when you have a realization where you go, okay, now where's the courage to take the step forward? Yeah. What does that look like? What does that feel like? So unknown.
Yeah.
So it can get scary. Really scary.
And that's the thing, when I sold my business, it's like I have a successful leverage business with an income that I don't really need to be there, do anything. I did, but I didn't. And go and selling it. And to be able to sell it is huge, because not many of my peers have been able to sell their businesses with the style of business. And to let that go and take that leap of faith, which is my leap of faith, which is just stepping into the unknown.
Yeah.
And trusting and knowing that the world, the universe, love, whatever version, God you call it. Just trusting that takes a big dose of courage and vulnerability.
Yeah. And I think, because we talked about you coming and doing this podcast, and I thought, we've got a bit of an opportunity here. You're coming up from Melbourne for Fields of Healing, so you're going to be in Byron, and that's only a couple of hours down the road, and so I was like, let's grab hold of this opportunity. And when I reached out to you, you were like, well, I haven't booked my flight, so there's no reason why I can't. And it's just an absolute allowing things to happen, and which was great, because it's created this opportunity, which gave us a chance yesterday to talk. And
we would never have had that. Well, we may have sliding doors. We may have had that conversation, but again, we're both absolutely exhausted. Like, why are we doing this? Like, 2 days to sort of get here and get home. It's sort of like, why are we doing this? It's like, because we're both really tired and exhausted, and then we have this incredible conversation in the car, and it's like, of course we're here.
That's why we're here.
That's right, we're here.
Well, I am going to wrap this up, because we are. I try not to go more than 40 minutes, because I know for me, after about 40 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm not listening
next.
That's me. I don't know about you guys, but so we will wrap it up. And I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. I've really enjoyed the different paths we've followed, and the different topics we've just sort of had a little meander down that topic path, a little meander down that one, and and I'd love to go more into depth in some of those topics, and maybe it might be a thing that we can do down the track, where we just have another conversation, say, just about sexuality. Another conversation where it's just about understanding those emotions and feeling your body. Because to me, there's a whole world of people out there that are numb.
Yeah.
And to...
And that's okay, just so you know, because I was numb for decades. It's okay.
It's like an epidemic of people that can't get in touch with their feelings. And if there's one person that can experience feeling and joy because of something that we can share, that to me is worth a conversation. So we will wrap it up for today though. Thank you so much. I will put some links in the show notes about some of the things that we've talked about, like so links to some of these the events and the workshops and things. Awesome. Jeff, his stuff,
Dave, Jeff, Sarah,
Sarah, awesome. All of those guys, and we'll leave it there.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for watching and enjoying and learning from Heather. I had no idea where that conversation was going to go, and I have really enjoyed exploring the depths of some of the topics that we talked about, and I really think that I would love to actually have another conversation with Heather in the future and really start to delve deeper into some of those topics. I'd love to know what you think as well. Is it something that you would enjoy? And if there is a particular topic that we touched on today that you think you would really, really love to hear more about, then please put some notes in the show notes, comment below. That would be amazing. So I sincerely hope you enjoyed that conversation, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on Let's Talk About.